Camp Lejeune was formed in 1940, and he volunteered to coach because they had a coach for a couple of years, I think, and then they lost him, and so he said he would do it. He lived at Midway Park, which was built to house the civil service people. He got no salary. He would work all day and then go and coach and go to the different games wherever. One thing I found was interesting was that, there was 85 students in the high school, 41 being boys, and Camp Lejeune did not have a conference. So the teams they played were Wilmington, Kinston, New Bern, the large teams, and usually he beat them, or they beat them.
One of the disadvantages when you're not in a league is that you have to play whoever will play you, and sometimes you play a college's JV team, or sometimes you'll play a team that's a 2A or 3A or a much larger school than you. Sometimes you have to travel quite a bit to get somebody to play, but that's what you do, and that's what Coach Ellington realized that they had to do in order to achieve what they had to achieve. Probably with a little bit of push from his players too, because they're saying, Coach, we need more competition. If we're going to get to the finals, we need more competition, and sure enough, it paid off. In 1949, they were runner-up, and in 50, they were state champions. And in 51, just to prove that it wasn't a fluke, they did it again. And different opponents, different classification. As far as basketball goes, he would have been, quote, Mr. Basketball for Camp Lejeune back in the 49 and 50 seasons. I know he had a relatively short stint at coaching basketball, but still, when you look at it, he did a rather amazing job, because in 1949, they went all the way to the finals, and they lost in the finals. And the articles that were covering them in the finals said that they'll be back. And sure enough, they weren't back just the next time, but they were back the year after that. So that's quite an accomplishment for a basketball team.
It ended in the 50-51 season, and they thought he had a stomach ulcer. And he went to Duke, and it was stomach cancer. The doctor gave him 6 months to live. He did live for 44 more years, but he did live with cancer here and there. He always was battling cancer, but he lived to be 84. The boys on his basketball team for however many years, 70 years, have kept in contact with him, and they instigated reunions and wrote letters, and one of them, Al Munch, wrote a beautiful poem.
Lejeune has a Hall of Distinction where they recognize players for their and coaches for their accomplishments both on the field and off the field, and Coach Ellington was in that first class of that Hall of Distinction, as are, I think, 5 of the basketball players that played in those state championship teams. Some of the players later went on to become fairly good tennis players. One of them played all-marine tennis and was all-marine and all-region. Floyd Probst, he was the sort of the leader, unofficial leader, captain of the team. He was a leading scorer a couple of times. There was Alan Frucci, and Alan was another all-star athlete. Both Alan and Mr. Probst went into careers in the military and became fighter pilots, and each one flew over 300 combat missions in Vietnam, which is quite an accomplishment. You had Ron Hodge, who played minor league baseball for the Cubs, and so their accomplishments weren't just limited to what they did in the basketball court.
They were very, very close. And one of the fellows was Bob Royster, who was known here in Jacksonville, and Al Munch, and but they were very close as they moved different places, and they had reunions, which was organized by them. And the last one, I think my daddy was 80, and they had, it was at our house on the water at Cedar Point. And I was there, and they had their wives, and they each had a T-shirt, and it had the dates of the when he coached.
Coach Ellington, during his 4 years of coaching, was 89-10, and I don't know if you've done the math on that like I have, but that's pretty good.